So I have my Wacky Cake in the oven. Because I liked it. I finished my chocolate chip pumpkin giant cookie and actually gave some away to my landlord, who came down and reassured me that I'm not needing to get out of here like his person said to me. And I'm like, she just made some off the cuff remark like, oh, I think you should apply for Section 8 and get out of here by the summer because, and I'm like, are you giving me notice? Are you kidding me? After all I've been through here, almost 6 years of living here and stuff, and you know, my husband died and you're in Florida and I'm like up here, and you just made some off the cuff suggestion that I should apply for subsidized housing and move to some crappy apartment in Lewis and Auburn full of slumlords who you always see on the news their apartments are burning down due to some dryer overheating or some bad wiring, and that's what you want me to do, is get out of here and move there because you think maybe this place needs too many repairs and you have plans for it. I'm like, that doesn't extend that far. Her authority is just, and I've never seen the document. She refuses to give it to me because, you know, people have to have, it was like when my father was on the school board, you know, being a superintendent, he wasn't on the school board, he was at the meetings. But you would get some person in town who got a taste of power. And there was one guy in another state, in another town, obviously, and he wanted my dad to hire like his nephew to get the contract for mowing all the school system's lawns. And my dad said, well, you know, we can't consider him because he's related to you, and that would be nepotism. And the guy's like, what's that? Why not? You know, he was incensed that my father wouldn't just agree to receive a bid and give a contract to his relative, his nephew or something, to have the contract to mow the public schools' lawns. And this was the sort of thing my dad had to put up with, along with trying to, you know, do innovative things like integrate children with disabilities into the mainstream public. Because when I was a child, if you had a child with, say, like Down syndrome, they recommended you put that child in an institution and leave the child there because it would be too difficult to bring up on your own and blah, blah, blah. There was a lot of that going on. And then there was a lot of reversal when I was in high school in the late 70s to reintegrate institutionalized children with disabilities to mainstream public school. And my dad had a program like that where I went to high school in Massachusetts, and he set it up so that a student who was already there could take around another student who was being introduced to public school or whatever. And I had a buddy she had cerebral palsy, and so she was not severe enough where she was in a wheelchair. She was on crutches, and so I helped carry her books and led her around, showed her the ropes for a week, and then she was fine on her own. It was like a buddy system. And because my dad, he's like, will you do me a favor? Will you do this? I'm like, all right, what up? You know? And, sure, why not? And so, but my dad strongly believed that you shouldn't push children into an institution, and now society agrees, but back then it's hard to imagine nowadays, but back then if a woman had a child who was disabled like that, they were often strongly encouraged to take this child out of their family home and put it in an institution because it was believed there was no hope, or that's where they belonged, it would be too much work or whatever. And anyway, now I'm making tea, and I added some of this cacao stuff I had. I bought it once a long time ago, so I'm just using it up. And thank God they discovered, you know, some chemical in chocolate that makes it healthy for people, because now the health food industry got a hold of it, and now it's, you know, fair trade this, which is cool, and I have fair trade chocolate in the cupboard too, but it's driven the price of chocolate up in a way, because now it's healthy. Back in the day, you remember that mom that you'd go over to their house and she would give you the carob cookies or something, the cookies with carob chips, and you're tasting, you're like, this ain't chocolate, what is it? Oh, it's carob, it's much better for you. And then you knew to avoid that, or if you would say thank you, Mrs. Jones, and walk out and throw it to the dog or something. Not the dog, but it was maybe chocolate, but I'd be like, throw it away, because you don't want to eat this pasty whole wheat cookie thing with carob chips in it. Like, man, just eat some freaking real chocolate once in a while. Now it's healthy, but oh well. And I made the Wacky Cake, which is, by the way, happens to be vegan, so you can serve your sanctifying, what do they call, sanctimonious people that come over. Oh my God, people who have the moral high ground with food. Get a grip, man. Life is short. Eat what you want. You just don't shove it down my throat. If I want to eat some lentils, I'll eat them, okay? I know what they are. I'm not going to force you to eat bacon or a big prime rib dripping with fat or anything like that, so don't force your freaking lentils down my throat either. And it will get along just fine. But anyway, Wacky Cake is good. You should try it. I've got the one with the half recipe, so it's 1.5 cups of flour, 3/4 cup of sugar, and then the rest, I've got the one from Southern Living, which some of them say 3 cups, and that's for a big 9x13 pan, so for just me. And what I'm going to do is, once it cools down and I've eaten it a little bit for a day or two, take the rest and just cut it into little squares or whatever and freeze it. And then whenever I want, I still have spice cake in there. Whenever I want, I thaw it out for 30 seconds and I put some ice cream or something on top, and I've got me a dessert. Cake is better after you freeze it. Just ask the bakers, because they know. I saw it on the YouTube. That's right, I said the YouTube. Sue me. Have a good one. And make some Wacky Cake.